Good morning. My name is Fred Esposito, and I am delighted to have an opportunity to come and speak to you. I've been invited by Startup USA/VCU, and I'm delighted to have an opportunity to speak to you. I think that one of the reasons I was invited is because I have a disabled son who was injured playing high school football in 1977. Billy's still disabled, and we work with him every day since that time. In our quest to help Billy and to help other people who have disabilities, my wife formed the Virginia Head Injury Foundation, and I formed High Hopes, the word high standing for Head Injured Group Housing. And I do counseling for people who are disabled and not disabled. I do for-profit and non-profit. I myself was born and raised in New Haven, Connecticut, and I came up through the insurance industry. I'm a CLU and CHFC. I brought my family down here to Richmond, Virginia as Vice President of Marketing for a major insurance company. And then the last 10 years of my career, I formed my own company, First Financial Services of Virginia, and I ran it for 10 years in Richmond. And at the end of 10 years, I sold the business and retired. At that time, I played golf for the first 5 years and realized that there's more to life than golf. And so I started volunteering for SCORE, S-C-O-R-E, Service Corps of Retired Executives, and I've been doing it for the past 12 years, and I thoroughly enjoy it. It's a chance to help people, and I do nonprofit and for-profit counseling. I've been doing it for 12 years, and I am still as excited about it today as I was 12 years ago. So I have the small business experience, the large business experience, the nonprofit and for-profit. So we can help you get started. Now SCORE there are 12,000 of us across the country, and in Richmond, Virginia, there's 27. And we're committed to helping people start a business. We're the volunteer arm of the Small Business Administration. There's 400 chapters over the country, and as I mentioned, in Richmond we have 27 counselors. And so when you call up the local chapter, wherever it might be, they try to fit you to the counselor that fits your needs. Like I was a financial planner, somebody else might be retail, and we try to fit the counselor to your needs. So in addition to one-on-one counseling, we also do email counseling, and later on at the end of the talk I will give you the website that you can go and sign up for email counseling. One of the things that SCORE offers is monthly workshops. Most of the chapters throughout the United States will offer a monthly workshop. We in Richmond offer a monthly workshop as well. And we offer free one-on-one counseling. As I mentioned, I myself use Thursdays, and I meet people at a bookstore in the West End, and it's very convenient. It's all on one floor, so people come, and the sidewalk is cut out, so you can come in with a wheelchair and come right into the first floor and have counseling. We also are prepared to give you veterans assistance, and in fact, I've started 3 or 4 new businesses recently who are going to do veterans assistance, but we can help you. We have the information. As I say, we're the volunteer arm of the Small Business Administration. So we like to be the frontline troops. We give the first interview. Small Business Administration doesn't give interviews and counseling. We are they refer you to us if you call up, and we will help you get started. And of course, at the end, we'll have a list of websites and workshops that you can go. Most of the workshops that are held in the cities, you'd have to contact the local city, and we will have those phone numbers and websites for you to get towards the end of the talk. The workshop, and we encourage you to go to the workshop because I call it the trigger. This is how you get started. You go to this workshop. There's usually anywhere from 18 to 22 students and about 8 or 9 instructors. Bring some business cards with you because you're going to network with these people. You're going to network with the instructors, you're going to network with the students, and that's going to be your first networking group right there. Each of the instructors will give you valuable information. And as I say, this will be your first networking group. Now, from here, you're going to use many of these instructors because this is your first opportunity to talk to professionals who can be on your advisory board. I'm going to talk to you more about advisory board later, but I want to mention that because you're going to need an attorney, a CPA, and so the workshops are valuable in making some contacts for you, not only with the other folks you'll be meeting with, because you'll be sitting next to somebody who's opening up a cleaners. And what does he want? He wants you to bring your clothes to his cleaners. And what do you want? Whatever kind of business you're opening up. So I help you and you help me. That's networking. So this is going to be your first networking opportunity. So once you go to this workshop, we then ask you to form your advisory board. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. Now you need to write a business plan. And there are business plans that you can access through the national website and through BizPlan Builder, which is a piece of software that you can buy at any local store, any business supply store locally. You can buy that. But you must have a business plan, because a business plan is, in fact, your roadmap of where you're going. Now, there are two types of business plans, and one is major components and one is a primary. I like to see people do a complete business plan, but occasionally someone will ask for a portion of your business plan, such as the cash flow statement, which you can do. You could do just a couple of parts, but I like to see people do a full business plan. I'm not a believer in cherry picking parts of it. So you can get it. You can get on the national website and do a business plan, or you can buy a piece of software. Let's say we recommend BizPlan Builder. And that way you can edit it easily, and you'll have something that you could live with and change as you go down the road. Where do you start? You start with the business plan, and the first thing you've got to write is a mission statement, which is a short statement about your company. What is the primary purpose of the company? What is the mission? And it should be short. It should be 2 or 3 sentences, and that's where you start. You start with this short mission statement. There's a lot of key information, as I mentioned to you, and one of the most key is the cash flow statement. When you sit before a banker, he's going to thumb through your business plan, and he's going to want to see your cash flow statement. That's a very, it's a complicated form, but it's very simple. It's got your cash flow on top and your expenses on the bottom. And Mr. Banker is going to separate the two, divide the two, and see you have a positive or negative cash flow. So the cash flow statement is very, very important. Now, most people are going to have to get a loan, because starting a business is an expensive proposition, and you have to have startup costs, and so you estimate what your loan need is, and you put together a loan package. And you take the loan package to your bank. The SBA doesn't loan money, as most people think. What they do is guarantee money. So the loan package includes a business plan, a loan application, which you get from the bank, a credit report, which you go on and the www.freecreditreport.com, and you look at that and see, are there any flaws in it? If there are flaws, you'd correct it. And so you don't want to go before the banker and have him tell you you've got flaws in your credit report. You want to correct it before you go there. You want to have your personal financial statement, which shows your assets and your liabilities, and your income tax returns for the past 2 years, and a resume as well. You might include a cover letter telling what you want to do with the money and how much are you asking for. So this is a loan package. Now, you don't bring this to the SBA. You bring this to your local bank, that you bank, and talk to a loan officer, and he will consider this and see whether you qualify. And in a minute, we'll talk about the risk percentage that the SBA will take. But this is, I always recommend that you take an opportunity to go to your bank and talk to a loan officer before you do all this work and get a preliminary assessment of what he wants. Obviously, you have to get the loan forms from him. And there are 2 kinds of loan forms. One is the SBA forms, or many of the banks say, we will take it on our own forms. They call it their own paper. So you want to have a preliminary interview with the banker, and so he may say, our bank requires 3 years of tax return. So having a preliminary interview, you find this out, and you can customize your loan package. But you're borrowing through the bank, but it's going to be guaranteed by the SBA. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Now, what kind of a business structure you're going to have? You can start off as a sole proprietor, and simply if you go and get a business plan and start doing business, you are a sole proprietor. You've started as a sole proprietor. And you can start that way, but we don't recommend that you stay that way because it's very dangerous. Because if anybody sues you, they can get right to your personal assets. So it's okay to start that way, but don't stay that way very long, maybe 30, 60, 90 days, and then become some kind of a corporation. We'll talk about that in just a minute. There's an SC and an LLC. So the next way you could start a business is a partnership. And there are general partnerships and limited partnerships. But in the general partnership, you both share the responsibility. And it's so dangerous because the people that sue you can get to your personal assets and your partner's personal assets, and you're responsible for your partner's mistakes and he's responsible for your mistakes. So again, you can start that way, but don't stay that way. Most of the attorneys will recommend that you start a corporation because this way you protect yourself from liability, protect yourself from lawsuits from people that think that you made a mistake. So there are 3 kinds of corporations. There's the S corporation, a C corporation, and an LLC. The 3 different kinds of corporations. Now the C corporation is for large companies. They're there for the big companies of this world. And we don't want you to start a C corporation because there's a double tax. The company, the corporation actually is an entity that gets taxed, and then when it pays a dividend out to you, it's taxed again. So there's a double tax. So there's an S corporation and an LLC. I had an S corporation. It served me very well. But I see the attorneys today, most of them are recommending, at least in Virginia, the LLC. But that's not my job here. I'm not an attorney, and I would refer you to your attorney as to which corporation you want to start. But most of them are recommending an LLC, and then to be taxed, sign a form, and be taxed like an S corporation. But that's where you want to sit down with your attorney, who's going to be on your advisory board. You're going to put him on your advisory board, and you're going to have a conversation, and he's going to advise you as to which corporation he wants you to start. And you're transferring the risk to your corporation. The corporation is like an umbrella over you that protects you from lawsuits. And one lady came to me and she said, Fred, I don't need to form a corporation. She said, I went down to the State Corporation Commission and I got the forms and I filled them out myself and it only cost me $85. I said, good, Louise, did you form an S corporation, a C corporation, or an LLC? And she looked at me with those blank eyes and I said, Louise, that's no way to start a company. You don't know what you've done here. So I believe in transferring the risk. Hire an attorney to form your corporation. Pay the man. Now he's your attorney. Hire a CPA. Let him do your taxes. He's your CPA. They will protect you. And they have the smarts, the ability not to make the mistakes as Louise did. Okay? So you got an S, a C, and an LLC. And sit down with your attorney and figure out what his recommendation is and start a corporation as soon as you can. Protect yourself from liability. And now there's a nonprofit as well. And here's where there are some extra steps that you have to do with the nonprofit, in that you have to form a board of directors. And you have to file for 503c approval with IRS. And that's a lengthy form that's filled out. Usually your attorney fills it out and sends it off to the IRS. And once you get that approved, now you can solicit funds and you're a nonprofit. So the nonprofit is a little different than the for-profit because in the for-profit you own the company. But in the nonprofit, you might make yourself executive director. I'd made myself chairman of the board. which is a non-paying position. I didn't pay, I was a volunteer. But our executive director did get paid. But the executive director does not own the company, so there's a little risk there. But anyway, this whole area, you're going to talk with your attorney, you're going to put him on your advisory board, and he's going to be very important in your life. I think the two most important people on your advisory board is one, your attorney, and the second one is your CPA. I call this the bubble of protection. We're saying to you that you need to do some things for yourself to protect yourself. And you see yourself inside this bubble. And we ask you to do these things, and let's look at them inside the bubble. Do a business plan, which you're going to need if you get a loan anyway. But even if you don't get a loan, you need the business plan because that's your roadmap of where you're going, where your company's going to go, when you can afford to hire another assistant. I know when I formed my company, I wanted somebody as an administrative assistant because I needed to go out and make money. As long as I'm out doing the things that brings money into my company, we're profitable. But if I'm doing busy work, filing and that type of thing, that's not profitable. So I wanted somebody to handle the office manager. The next thing you need to have is errors and omissions insurance. And here, depending on the type of business you have, this protects you in case you make errors and somebody would sue you. And so, but you want to buy this insurance on a group basis. Usually your profession will have an association and you can buy errors and omissions insurance much less expensive than you can on an individual basis. You want to form an advisory board, and we're going to talk more about that later. These are simply your advisors. We already talked about two of them. You're going to have your lawyer on your advisory board, and you're going to have your CPA in your advisory board. Hopefully you're going to have your SCORE counselor on there as well, and others, and I'll cover that in more detail later. Now, the fringe benefits, you'll provide those if you have employees. Obviously, if you don't have, you don't have to provide them. Workman's compensation insurance in Virginia, if you have 3 employees or more, you have to provide workman's compensation. A policy manual. If you have employees, you want to have a policy manual. You want to have property and casualty insurance on your company to protect yourself. And you want to have a corporate structure, as we mentioned, to protect yourself against liability. Now, we ask you to do all these things to protect yourself against the factors that are attacking you outside the bubble. For instance, employee theft. Is that real? Very, very real. We had someone that stole from my insurance agency, and I didn't think that could happen, but it did. And we hadn't taken the proper security measures, and so we certainly did lock the barn after the horse was stolen. But economic downturns, client-employee accidents, cash flow problems, your own health, fire and floods, downturns in sales, employee labor problems, client defection, and lawsuits. So we're asking you to do these things to protect yourself against those forces of life on the outside. And so you'll have the protection you need. Business records and taxes. Now here is where your CPA is going to be very, very important in your life. He's got a list that he can provide you with how long you have to save the forms for records that as the years go by. Some of them are 3 years, some are 5 years, some are 10 years. I'm a saver. I always look at the paper as my paper trail. And so to protect myself for the future, I'm a saver. So I save things way beyond what the IRS calls for. But you need to sit down with your CPA and get this list so you'll know what forms need to be kept and how long they should be kept. They're all in my garage right now for years. Secondly, there are all kinds of records, and some of them you'll be able to do yourself. Many of them you'll not have the ability to do yourself. You're going to have to go to your CPA. And your balance sheet, your profit and loss statement, different control records. Like I mentioned to you, the cash flow statement, which is, to me, is the heart and blood, but it's hard for you to create that, and your CPA will probably have to create it for you. Your accounts payable and your accounts receivable. These are so important in your life. Who do you owe money to and who owes you money? And the more money you have that is owed to you, that's less cash that you have available to run your business. And so you're going to sit down with your CPA and your own staff, which might be yourself or your administrative assistant, and you're going to divide up what is he going to do and what are you going to do. And the more you ask him to do, the more expensive it gets. But in my office, we paid the bills and we paid the employees, and then once a quarter, the CPA would come in and he would file the quarterly taxes, state and federal. We deposited the FICA at the local bank. So you sit down with him and you divide up. What are you going to do, Mr. CPA, and what am I going to do and my staff? And again, you hit a balance that you can afford to do and that you're able to do. But some forms you're not going to be able to create yourself, and you have to have them. And I like the cash flow statement because that tells me where my money is going. Business records and taxes. This first item, employees and independent contractors. You know, there are two kinds of people in this world. One is a W-2 employee and one is a 1099. A 1099 is an independent contractor. But I like to use the example of 7-Eleven. Man owns a 7-Eleven and he has 14 employees, and they stock the shelves and they make sandwiches, and he's got a schedule for them, and he's got a workstation for them, and he directs them. He tells them when to come and when to go, and they're under his supervision. Those are clearly employees, and they receive a W-2 at the end of the year. So we call them W-2, and these are all, this is a form you probably are familiar with. But once in a while in Virginia it snows, and so this man that owns this 7-Eleven, or he hires an independent person with a snow plow, and he says, if it snows during the night, you come and plow out my gas pumps. When I come at 5:30, I want my gas pumps cleared out. And I won't call you, you don't call me, you just come and do it. And I will pay you. So he's clearly an independent contractor. And so he's called a 1099 because he'll receive a 1099 from the man that owns the gas station. Well, some people play games with this, and they say to an employee, I'm going to pay you the full amount. I'm going to make you a cash employee. And the person thinks that the employer is doing him a favor, which in fact he is not, because there are 21 items that the IRS says you must will make you an employee. So clearly, if a person is an employee, don't play games with this. Don't try to make him an independent contractor, and you'd be saving. And again, the difference is with the W-2, the employer is withholding a portion of the FICA from you, and the employer is putting in the other half. With the independent contractor, you're paying the entire FICA. So, but this is clear. It's easy to make a mistake here. So, if a person is clearly an employee, pay him. Pay your half of the FICA. Pay his half of the FICA. Don't play games with this. The next item: avoiding tax schemes. If someone comes to you and say they have a tax scheme and it's fantastic and it's great, this is too good to be true. It probably is too good to be true. So don't fall victim to this. Play it straight, pay your taxes, and avoid tax schemes. Watch your business expenses. Be very careful. One of the things that's hurt more people is fixed expenses. Be very careful when you sign a lease. If you sign a 5-year lease and your rent is $5,000 a month, you've signed a large commitment. So, and fixed expenses have hurt more people and killed more businesses than we like to see. And of course, we have electronic filing and payment today, which you can talk to your CPA. It's very easy, very painless, and people love it. Once you get started, you will absolutely love it. But sit down and talk with your CPA, and he can show you how that works. It's so paperless. Legal and accounting, legal service considerations. And again, you will meet a lawyer when you go to the workshop, but there are other lawyers you may prefer somebody else. Have an interview with more than one attorney and find out someone who thinks the way you do, and so you can hire him. Always ask people, don't ask people to do something for you until you ask what the charge is, because you don't want to get blindsided. So if someone's going to form a corporation for them, ask them what the fee is, and so that you'll know that you can handle that, okay? And select a lawyer. You may want to go through the chamber. You want to call the local legal society. But select a lawyer, and if you come to a workshop, you'll see some folks that have had prior experience and probably would make a good selection. But you make your own selection. Interview more than one. Do you need a lawyer? In my opinion, absolutely, because you're transferring the risk to the attorney of starting up the company. Just like letting the CPA doing your taxes, you're transferring the risk to him. Being in the insurance business for years, you buy a fire policy on your house, you pay a premium. What does that mean? You've transferred the risk to the insurance company, because if you don't buy the policy, you're taking on the risk yourself, and it's too risky. So again, you transfer the risk by hiring an attorney, hiring a CPA. Let them. Those are the professional people. Let them do their job, pay them, and they'll be on your side. So the role of the accountant, the role of the CPA is very important in the setup of your business. How do you set it up? What are you going to use Quicken for your keeping your records? And he can help you set that up. What part is he going to do? What part are you going to do? So the initial setup, the ongoing, and then the annual review. And you need to sit down and spend some time with him. And again, you're going to put him on your advisory board. So the role of the small business owner, you're the head of this advisory board. You're going to surround yourself with advisors. If you worked for a large corporation, which many of us did prior to setting up our own business, you had a CPA on staff. You had a lawyer on staff. So if you were in a big company and a legal problem came up, you didn't handle it yourself. You picked up the phone and you called the legal and gave them the problem. If it was an accounting problem, you picked up and called accounting and you gave them the problem. Now, it's your own company. You're going to outsource the function. You're going to have somebody as an advisor on your advisory board, and when that need comes up, you're going to outsource the function and let them do the job for you. So you're the head of this advisory board, and you're not alone, because it's a lonely, if you don't have these advisors, it can be very, very lonely, but by having these advisors around you, it's very comforting. You're going to need some insurance. There's no question about it, and there's a clear line here. This is liability, property, automobile, and workman's compensation. Those are what they call property and casualty and workman's comp. So there are two kinds of agents out there. Some agents have licensed in all areas. Some are just P&C. Now, property and casualty person would have the liability, property, automobile, and workman's compensation. Okay? That's a property and casualty agent. Other would be life insurance and fringe benefits. That's what my company did. We did the hospitalization, the disability income, the life insurance, and the pension plan. And so it's a life and health and securities agent for that. Now, some agents are licensed with everything, P&C and the life and health and securities. So you need to find out when you sit down and talk with somebody just what they're licensed for, so that you can buy the insurance you need from somebody who is qualified. Again, if you come to the SCORE workshop, you're going to meet some folks that have a lot of experience and years of experience. If you don't, go through your associations. The insurance industry has associations that you can go and get recommendations. But transfer the liability. You don't want to carry the liability for fire. You don't want to carry the liability if someone falls in your business. You don't want to carry the liability if someone's driving your automobile for business and has an accident or hurts somebody. And of course, the workman's compensation in case they get hurt on the job. You don't want to carry that yourself. You need to transfer that, so transfer that to the insurance company. Regulatory requirements. And here you're going to have to obtain a federal employee number, a state unemployment tax registration, a state income tax registration, an occupancy permit, and a business license. Once again, if you come to a workshop conducted by SCORE, you're going to get help in all these areas. If not, you can go on to the websites and you will find this information on the websites. And so at the end of our presentation, we're going to list these websites for you so you can write them down and contact the federal number and contact the state. And some of these you can do over the phone, and sometimes you can do it on a website. So the business license, you're going to find out who in your area, does your county or whatever state division is appropriate for your state, who's the licensing authority. In Virginia, it's the county, and so find out, do they require a business license? Some do and some don't. If you need to get a business license, get a business license immediately. And then an occupancy permit if you're going to rent a building, so you know you're in there right. And of course, you need the federal, state, and income tax registration. Again, you can get those through the website that we're going to show at the end of the presentation. Our sources of capital. So you've got equity capital, borrowed capital. When I started my company, I didn't owe anybody, and I owned 100% of the company. So my equity, I owned the entire company, and I didn't owe any money to anybody. As I went down the road, I had to borrow money, and I did. And I did it through a line of credit, which was very, very convenient for me because you can borrow as much as you want and you can pay it back. But when you start selling equity in the company, that's selling shares in your company. You're giving up some control. And of course, you never want to give up more than 49% because you want to maintain control. You want to have at least 51% of the company under your control. And we'll talk more about this balance later. But you can go to a commercial bank and sit down with your banker and introduce yourself, and he can help you. And are you going to put him on your advisory board? Absolutely. He's going to be on your advisory board. Okay. Have a preliminary interview with him. Tell him what your plans are. He can be very helpful to you in guiding you into the right forms, whether you're going to use SBA forms or his bank forms. He can advise you, and it's very, very helpful. And you're going to put him on your advisory board. As I mentioned before, the bank will loan you the money, but a portion will be guaranteed by the Small Business Administration. And that can be as high as 85% of the loan. And in that case, the bank would only be on 15% of the risk. And we're going to show you that in just a minute. One of the ways you can get capital is trade credit. And that is by going to somebody, your vendors, your vendors who are selling you material, and asking them to extend you credit. And so that reduces the amount of capital you have to run your business, and then financing your management as well. So trade credit can be very, very instrumental. But we'll show in a minute the amount you can borrow from the SBA. So these are all sources of capital. You can sell stock in the company. You can borrow from the banks. You can get an SBA guarantee. And you can have trade credit and financial management as well. Now, what does the SBA look for? And since the SBA looks for this, obviously the banks look for it as well, because the banks have to go along with the SBA, because if they're an approved SBA lender, they must meet the SBA dots. Okay? The first thing is good character. That means you haven't been arrested for a felony and you haven't filed a bankruptcy. If you have those two things, you have good character. Management expertise and commitment. You must be involved in the business and have some experience in this field. Okay? Your personal contribution or business or equity. They want you to have 20% of the deal. For instance, if you're borrowing $100,000, you have to have 20%, $20,000, and you're borrowing 80. The SBA is guaranteeing 85% of that, and the bank is guaranteeing the other 15%. So that works. So again, you have to have a feasible business plan. And the business plan has to have, obviously, the cash flow statement that I talked to you about. And that cash flow statement has to show that you have the ability to repay this loan. So there must be one line in the cash flow statement under expenses that shows the amount of your payment. That's one of the reasons you go to have a preliminary examination with the bank, because you want to find out what are the payments going to be on this $80,000 that I'm going to be borrowing. If he tells you that it's going to be $1,000, then you have a line in your cash flow statement showing the $1,000. So when the banker looks at this statement, he sees that you can repay the loan. And the feasibility he sees where? In the cash flow statement of your business plan. Adequate equity or investment, again, that's your 20%. And sufficient collateral, they're going to look around in your personal financial statement. And they're going to look for support for the amount you're borrowing. So they're going to look at the equity in your home. Do you have other investments? They're going to look and see, do you have collateral backing up this loan? And then the last item is demonstration that the loan can be repaid, as evidenced by what? The cash flow statement that we talked about up there in the business plan. That cash flow statement, that line that you put in there showing that the amount that you're paying and the fact that your business can support it. So this is what the SBA looks for, and obviously this is what the bank looks for. Here's the information I was talking to you about. A regular 7A loan up to $150,000. There's an 85% guarantee by the SBA. So the bank is on the hook for 15%. Now that's how the government stimulates our economy. And boy, I say that's a pretty good deal. That's 85% of the risk is being taken by the SBA, if you meet the SBA dots. After above 150,000, 7A loans is 75% guarantee, and the bank would be on the hook for 25%. They have an express loan up to $250,000, 50% guarantee. That has less paperwork. And an SBA Export Express, 85, and over 250, 75. And of course, an export working capital program at 90%. Another key piece of SBA information is in guaranteeing the loans. Loans guaranteeing fees on loans exceeding 12 months of maturity. Loans of, again, $150,000 or less. We said 85%. A loan of $150,000 up to $700,000, it's 75%, and loans greater than $750,000, I'm going to have to refer you to the SBA on that amount. Commercial leasing. I'm not going to say a lot about commercial leasing because you want to work closely with your attorney and your leasing agent. The ABCs of leasing business space to me is work with your attorney, because the attorney, you're going to have to sign a lease with the landlord. And you know, we're all very careful about what the written word, the printed word, and my first lease that I went, I took it to my attorney, he looked it over and he says, well, we're not going to go along with that. He lined it out, initialed it, and he made several changes, and we went back to the landlord, and the landlord said, okay, where I was ready to sign. So the attorney can lead you, he can help you, he's got the experience, and so I say when you sit down and you're leasing space, I would not do it without the help of my attorney. And that's the ABC of leasing for me. But remember, when you're signing a lease, you're signing a fixed cost, which means that you're going to pay this for the next 3 years. You better be prepared to be able to pay this premium. Many a business has failed strictly because they had too much fixed costs. It's just like when you go out and sign up for an advertisement for Yellow Pages. My company we were in 7 different places in the Yellow Pages because that brought us in income. And so I felt that was important. But again, you're signing for a 1-year period. You've committed. You owe this money. Consequently, you had to be prepared to pay it. In the commercial lease, building future value into your business, this is the kind you want to be able to know that the location is going to build future value into your business. If you've got a bad location, again, a big reason why many people have failed. And so you want to be sure that this lease that you have, the space that you have is going to build future value in your business. Can you expand? Is it expandable? Is it a location that gives you the kind of look that you want, the ambiance that you want? And how do you know what's best for you? Again, I depend on my professionals. I depend on my, if you got a good leasing agent and you have a good attorney, and then these are the people I would depend on. And again, you put them on your advisory board. And if you got a good leasing agent, put him on your advisory board. Surround yourself with professionals. Don't try to be a do-it-yourself person. Surround yourself with professionals. Your job is to go out and make money. And when you're making money, bringing it in, the company's profitable, everything works. But if you're doing busy work, you're not making money. And I wanted to talk to you about this debt-to-equity ratio. I mentioned it to you before. When I started the company, I had no debt, and I owned 100% of the company. So in the beginning, when you take on debt, and then you can have short-term loans, intermediate loans, and long-term loans. Short-term might be less than 1 year, intermediate up to 7 years, and long-term would be 10 years or more. That's more like real estate. But most of the business loans are going to be short-term, so I had a line of credit. But when you get a loan, now you've got to make payments. And the bank usually has a reasonable interest rate, but you're making payments each month. So the responsibility you have is to make that payment every month. On the other side, the equity is where you sell stock in the company, because if you borrow and borrow and borrow, eventually the bank says, we're not going to loan you anymore. So if you need more money, you've got to go out and sell equity in the business. This is where the owner is granting the investor a share in the future profits. So if I had borrowed up to my limit at the bank, and the bank said no more loans, and I had an opportunity to grow my business, but I needed an infusion of, let's say, $100,000 or $200,000 of capital, I could turn to somebody. You could call them a venture capitalist, or you could call them an angel, and you could say, I'd like to have you could invest $200,000 in my company, and I would give you X amount of shares in the company. Let's say I'd give you 20% of my company for $200,000. Now, with the debt, all I had to do was make a payment. With the equity, I don't have to make a payment. I would have to share 20% of the company on a quarterly basis if I have a profit, only if I have a profit. However, the interesting thing is that, let's say 10 years later, I sell this company for $10 million. How much do I have to give of this $10 million to my investor? I have to give him the 20%, which is a lot of money. I think that's about $2 million. So consequently, while it seems like selling equity is easy, it can come back to bite you, because you're going to have, someday when you sell the company, you're going to have to give that investor their equal share, their fair share. And so I built a little seesaw here, this debt-equity ratio. On the left-hand side is borrowing from the bank, and the only pressure you have is to make those payments. Where on the right-hand side, which is selling equity, the pressure is not on, but you have lost some control in the company, and you have to pay out the percentage on a quarterly basis. And of course, when you sell, this is where you can really get blindsided, because they're going to take that whatever percentage you sold, 20%, 40%, and it could be substantial dollars, substantial. So be very careful with equity. Stick with the loans if you can handle them, and grow without touching equity, because as soon as you touch with equity, you're talking now, control now, and then sharing your profit later on, and it could be substantial. All right, here's the famous advisory board. Now, the picture is a little bit of a misnomer, because the advisory board never meets. It's simply that you create an advisory board. It's simply that in your mind you see a round table and you see people sitting at it. But it simply means taking a piece of paper, writing down, and putting down who is your lawyer. Put their name down and their phone number. Who's your SCOR representative? Put his name down and his phone number. Who's your banker? Name, phone number. Insurance agent. Join the association. Who's your CPA? Okay. Join the association of the industry you're in. And then I like to put down mentor. Mentors, and you can have as many mentors as you want, are people that you knew in the past. Could be that it was a professor at the college you went to. It could be that someone you met in a previous business, but you trust their judgment. So you call them a mentor because you want to be able to call on them if you need their advice. So do you see what I'm saying? That when you're in a business, it's lonely. If you don't appoint these advisors, you're all by yourself. All of this responsibility is on your shoulders. But by forming an advisory board and getting these folks on your board, you're not alone. So when trouble comes, if it's a legal problem, you pick up the phone and call the lawyer. If it's an accounting problem, you pick up the phone and call the CPA. And so what you're doing is you're getting a support system. You're simply outsourcing the function that you had in-house when you're in the big corporation. And you can put as many people on this advisory board as you want. One of the little things that I found helpful is that when you do your stationery, you can put the name of your company across the top and do a sidebar and list your advisory board. Now you must get their approval to put their name on this stationery as a member of the advisory board. And most people would love to be on your advisory board, but some might not. So you want to get their approval before you do that. This is a very powerful tool right here. This is an empowerment tool. This alone is a giant step forward in any small company. Do not violate this. Do not miss it. The advisory board is a very, very strong component of your success. Very strong component. Right now, when I counsel people, I tell them, I'm giving you this, and I want within 2 weeks, or let's say a good 30-day period, I want you to fax me your advisory board. I demand that they show me their advisory board. So very, very, it's a great empowerment tool. By marketing and selling tips, marketing is king. I had a young man that I started in business. He started an indoor racetrack in Richmond, Virginia. And he came to me after a year and said, Fred, we're not making enough money. And I said, John, you didn't do any marketing. Nobody knows you're there. And so he put up a huge billboard and attracted people. And he's been so successful now, he's opened up a second indoor racetrack towards Virginia Beach. So marketing is king. If you don't tell the world who you are and where you are, how are they going to know to come in and do business with you? So marketing is crucial for business success, absolutely crucial. It's that's your shining light. And if you put a bushel basket over it, nobody can see your light. You want to let the world know who you are and where you are. Now, so part of your business plan is going to be what? A marketing plan. You have to have a marketing plan. And guess what? You can have a marketing advisor on your advisory board. Would that be a good idea? You betcha. So put another circle on your advisory board and put a marketing advisor, because this could be the most important move you've made. So you want to identify your market. When I started my company, I wanted to hire agents to sell my product. So my market was what? Not selling people insurance. My market was hiring agents and letting agents come to work for me. So you have to identify your market, okay? And that's important, and you must clearly state that in your business plan and part of your mission statement. You have to have sales, promotion, and advertising. This, again, is marketing. This is getting the word out. This is letting the world know who you are and where you are. One of the things that I found is that sometimes the large newspapers are good and very successful, but there are many small newspapers that are regional or county, or they're for seniors or parents, and you can advertise in those at much smaller cost, and you reach a different clientele. And so I would encourage you to take a look at those regional papers and do some advertising there. And then building a loyal customer base and brand recognition. You want to try to get, and the marketing person can help you with brand recognition. This is a hot item today, that when people think about your industry, or if it's housing, or if it's insurance or automobiles, that they think of you. And that's brand recognition, when they can think of you, and building customer loyalty through taking care of your existing clientele. So marketing is king. If you don't have a marketing plan, you're destined probably to fail, because this is how you get the word out, how you bring new business in the front door. Okay, you can buy a list. Some of the newspapers, interestingly enough, will put down once a month all of the new people that got a business license in your community with the name and the address. All you have to do is put that in your database. Build a database of new people starting businesses, and you've got some folks that you can go and send a letter to and tell them what kind of work you do. That's marketing. Okay? Marketing is king. One-on-one counseling is the strength of SCORE. But we do have another way, and that is email counseling. We do email counseling. And so you can go to the national website. We're going to put that up at the end. The national website, and you can ask for email counseling. I had a lady who started a website for diabetics, and she said to me, "Fred, I want to talk to an attorney, I want to talk to a doctor, and I want to talk to a pharmacist." I said, "Anne-Marie, you're beyond me, but you can go on the national website and ask for email counseling." And she got a doctor in Los Angeles and a pharmacist in Minneapolis, and she got email counseling free, pro bono. Okay, so not only is the one-on-one counseling, I like one-on-one counseling, and I meet people every Thursday at a local bookstore, and we spend an hour, and I'm there every Thursday, and I usually have 5 or 6 interviews on a Thursday. And so this is an opportunity. Now, not every counselor has everything you need, so consequently, when I meet somebody and I see that that I've gone as far as I could with them, but they need to see another counselor in my group. For instance, we have a gentleman who's a specialist in advertising. So if I've gone as far as I can with you or with my client, then I refer them on to my advertising counselor and set up an interview with him on a one-on-one basis. And you could actually talk to several of us, and in addition have email counseling. But this is great. They ask you to fill out a little form to register, and then when the SCORE representative comes back, at the end of the day, he fills out his portion, and we don't get paid. This is pro bono work, but this is how the SBA measures, are we out seeing the people? Are we out, how many people are we seeing? Are we doing the job? Well, there are 11,500 volunteers out there. I round that off to 12,000 out there helping you get started. And last year, we counseled over 3,000 people. I know in Richmond, we're doing 50 to 60 interviews a day, one-on-one, plus the email counseling. And of course, we talk about financing options and business strategies and marketing tactics and cash flow and management and much more. And again, each counselor has a strength. I've been a marketing person all my life and a financial planner. So, well, again, I'm not reticent to pass you on to another counselor if I'm not up to speed. As I said, this one man is an advertising specialist, and so I like to pass the clients on to him. And then many of them are going to, obviously all of them are going to have their own CPA to help them with the cash flow, and their attorney to help them with legal matters. Well, as I mentioned to you before, we have counselors that do for-profit and nonprofit. And I specifically have helped many people who have disabilities. And some examples, I helped a person who was in a wheelchair, and he got started in a business. We met him at the local bookstore. The sidewalk is cut, and it's all on the first floor. Very nice, and he wanted to start an email business. And so he started an email business selling music discs to people who like a particular kind of music, and he was successful. It gave him a great deal of satisfaction to be able to put it up on the website, have people order it, and then he would go down to the post office and mail these discs off, and then I would meet with him periodically. We'd go over his business plan, his cash flow statement, And I was so happy and so pleased to see this man. And he's become a friend. And I see him at the YMCA all the time. So great experience. And this is what our SCORE people can do for you. On the other hand, my second example I want to mention in here, many people, here's a man who bought a business. He didn't ask for any help. And he came in the office almost in tears. And he said, Fred, he said, I retired and from my business world. I was a federal employee, and I retired. And I wanted a little job. I didn't want to work all day, but I would like to work half a day. So I saw a restaurant advertised in a local paper, just breakfast and lunch, and I said, this is perfect for me. And he went down and talked with the lady, and she gave him a piece of paper, and he looked at the paper, and he believed it. He didn't have a CPA check it out. He didn't have an attorney check it out. He didn't come to SCORE. He bought the business, and he was losing money rapidly. And that's sad because we're available and we're free. We're pro bono, as well as we would advise him to have the paperwork checked out by a CPA and by his attorney. We think we could have helped him. We could have averted a very sad situation that was created by rushing into this. And as I say, you can go on our website, and we're going to list it here. There are many websites here that would be helpful to you, but I want to mention our local chapter. Here's the national website, www.score.org. That's the national website that you'd go on, and you would ask them to recommend the local chapter of the city you're in, and get the phone number and call them up and tell them you'd like one-on-one counseling. And then our chapter here in Richmond is richmondscore.org, www.richmondscore.org. The national website is www.score.org. So our phone number here locally is 804-771-2400, extension 131. As you can see, the national website is 1-800-634-0245. Okay. I've certainly enjoyed an opportunity to chat with you today and share all these years of experience I had. I hope that you, if you're in Richmond, come and see me or come and see one of our participants. And if not, call the national website, set yourself up for a one-on-one interview or email counseling. God bless you, and successful entrepreneurship to all of you.